What if I told you that one man stole over 1,000 luxury cars from New York City, and the police couldn't catch him for 5 years? What if I told you he wasn't even American? Today, you're about to discover the most brilliant criminal mind you've never heard of. In the late 1990s, something strange was happening in New York City. Luxury cars were disappearing at an alarming rate. We're talking about Mercedes, BMWs, Porsches, the most expensive cars you can imagine. But here's what made it terrifying. These cars never showed up again. Not in chop shops, not in other states. They simply vanished into thin air. The NYPD was completely baffled. In just 45 days, 48 top-of-the-line cars disappeared without a trace. The police searched Brooklyn Port, thinking the cars were being shipped overseas. They found nothing. What they didn't know was that the mastermind behind this operation was a former Chinese military intelligence officer who was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. Meet the mastermind. His name was Yang Gong. In 1990, he was discharged from the Chinese army in disgrace. His reputation was destroyed, and he had nothing left to lose. Instead of staying down, Yang decided to build a criminal empire. And he had the perfect plan. Yang noticed something important. Rich people in Shanghai desperately wanted luxury cars, but these cars were impossible to get in China. Meanwhile, New York City was full of exactly these cars. So Yang made a deal with a Shanghai gangster. The plan was simple. Yang would steal cars in America and ship them to China. The gangster would sell them, and they'd split the profits. The gangster gave Yang $500,000 to start his operation. Yang took the money and disappeared to America with his most trusted partner, Po Chow. The perfect setup. Yang entered the United States using a fake identity. He called himself Kenny. He drove an old Nissan and lived like an ordinary person. No flashy lifestyle, no attention. But behind the scenes, Yang was building something incredible. First, he found a warehouse on the outskirts of New York, somewhere with zero crime, which meant no police patrols. He created a fake company called MSK Group that supposedly dealt with food supplies. Here's the genius part. Yang filled the front of the warehouse with actual food boxes and cupboards. If anyone walked in, they'd think it was just a normal food storage business. Yang installed surveillance cameras around the warehouse with military precision. He could monitor everything happening outside. But the real brilliance was in how Yang structured his operation. Layers upon layers. Yang never got his hands dirty. Instead, he built layers of protection between himself and the actual crimes. He recruited Dean, an experienced car thief, to supervise the stealing. Dean brought in Mario Lopez, an expert at breaking car security systems. These guys would recruit other thieves, but here's the key. The thieves never knew about Yang. They only knew Dean and Lopez. Yang created a system where everyone only knew the person directly above them. It was like a military operation with perfect compartmentalization. The theft process. Now, let me blow your mind with how sophisticated this operation was. These weren't random car thefts. Yang's team only targeted high-end luxury cars with the most advanced security systems. We're talking about motion detectors, electronic locks, engine immobilizers, hidden GPS trackers. Most thieves would avoid these cars because they're too difficult to steal, but Yang's team had a different approach. Lopez would never break the car's lock. That would trigger the computer to shut down. Instead, he'd break a window, connect his laptop to the car's computer, and reprogram the entire lock system. While Lopez worked, another gang member watched from a distance. If there was any danger, Lopez would abandon the car immediately. Once the car was ready, Lopez would leave and signal a driver to take it away. But they wouldn't drive it to the warehouse immediately. The waiting game. Here's where Yang's military training really showed. The stolen car would be driven to a parking lot full of other expensive cars and left there for 2 full days under human surveillance. If police or the owner showed up, they'd abandon the car. If nobody came looking for it, they knew it was safe. But even then, the car wouldn't go directly to the warehouse. It would be driven to a location 3 blocks away, where Dean would take over and drive it the final distance. Yang's surveillance cameras would confirm that nobody was following before the car entered the warehouse, making the evidence disappear. Inside the warehouse, Yang had a full auto repair shop. They would fix any damage from the theft, make the car look brand new, remove all GPS trackers, prepare it for shipping. The cars looked like they'd just left the showroom. The impossible export. Now comes the most incredible part. How do you smuggle hundreds of stolen cars from America to China without getting caught? Yang solved this problem with pure genius. Instead of shipping from New York ports, where police might look, Yang sent everything to New Jersey first. From there, the cars went by train all the way to California, thousands of miles away. The police would never think to look in California for cars stolen in New York, and shipping from California to China was much cheaper. But how did Yang hide the cars during transport? He weighed a container filled with food boxes. Then he loaded stolen cars into containers and filled the remaining space with food boxes until the weight was exactly the same as a container with only food. At every weighing station, the containers appeared normal. The cars were completely hidden behind food boxes. The ship transfer. When the containers reached California, they were loaded onto ships. But the ship's destination wasn't China. That would be too obvious. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, Yang's containers were transferred to a different ship heading to Shanghai. The captain of the second ship knew what was really inside. This operation ran perfectly for 5 years. Yang stole and shipped thousands of cars to China, making millions of dollars. The fatal mistake. But success made Yang greedy. He decided to steal cars faster by targeting car dealerships. Lopez would visit a showroom pretending to be a customer. He'd note where they kept the keys. 2 days later, he'd break in after closing time and steal multiple cars at once. The plan worked. They stole 7 cars in 3 minutes. But one driver crashed into a pole by accident. When police arrived, they discovered the car was stolen and arrested the driver. Under pressure, he revealed Dean's identity. The investigation police put Dean under surveillance. After a week, Dean unknowingly led them to Yang's warehouse, but the police didn't raid immediately. They watched and waited, learning about the operation. What they didn't know was that Yang was watching them back. Chow spotted the surveillance and warned Yang immediately. Yang stayed calm. He immediately stopped bringing cars to the warehouse and began moving everything out using trucks disguised as food deliveries. The police watched Yang's evidence being transported right in front of them, but they thought it was just food supplies. The raid. When police finally raided the warehouse, they found nothing. Yang had outsmarted them completely. But Yang made a crucial error. He became overconfident. The downfall, Yang's team started using coded phone calls. When Dean asked if they were still under surveillance, Yang replied, "We have an order for 260, meaning 260 cars." Police realized Kenny was the leader and that he knew about their surveillance. Yang's team kept changing phones to avoid being tracked, but police found a clever solution. They tracked the gang members' family phones. When the criminals called their wives from new numbers, police could trace the new phones. The final mistake. Chow made a fatal error. He used his phone to arrange a meeting with Yang at a restaurant. Police placed a Chinese-American agent in the same restaurant. For the first time, they saw Yang's face and heard his plans. Yang was planning to move to a new warehouse, unaware that police were watching his every move. The last heist. Yang found a new way to steal many cars at once: parking garages. Lopez bribed a parking attendant $500 per car. The team would tie up the attendant to make him look like a victim and steal multiple cars. But they made one crucial mistake. They forgot to remove the GPS tracker from one car. A police officer followed the GPS signal directly to Yang's warehouse. The secret surveillance team had no time to stop him. When workers saw the officer approaching through their security cameras, They started fleeing. Police arrested as many as possible. The arrest police rushed to arrest Yang at his home before he could escape. That same night, Kenny was in handcuffs. During interrogation, police learned Yang's true identity, a former Chinese military intelligence officer. This explained everything: his military precision, his strategic thinking, his ability to stay ahead of police for so long. The verdict: Yang was sentenced to only 10 years in prison because he never personally stole the cars. He only organized the operation. Police estimated Yang made $40 million, equivalent to $75 million today. But they never recovered a single dollar. Yang had transferred all the money to China before his arrest. The mystery continues. Where is Yang today? How did he spend those millions? Nobody knows. What we do know is that Yang created one of the most sophisticated criminal operations in history. He beat the NYPD for 5 years using nothing but intelligence, discipline, and military-level planning. It's a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous criminals are not the ones who use violence. They're the ones who think 10 steps ahead of everyone else. What do you think? Could an operation like this work today with modern technology? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe for more incredible true crime stories.